Alright everyone, welcome to today's class. So today we're going to be discussing about the fundamentals of graphic design. So now, basically in this class, what you're going to be learning is going to be all about the graphic design and how graphic design can be incorporated into making beautiful and amazing designs. So let's get started. Now, what is graphic design? Basically, graphic design is all about visual communication using images, text, shapes, colors to communicate. So when you're making use of all these elements to communicate, you're doing what is called graphic design. So just like I've stated on this very presentation, graphic design, I say graphic design combines what? Text, images, and colors to communicate visually. All right. Now, in addition to that, graphic design, you need to know it plays a key role or a pivotal role in branding and advertising to engage audience. The goal of every business is to what? To engage audience and to make sales. So when you're having audience engagement and you're making sales, automatically you are in business. So, and the role of graphic design here is to ensure that there is what? Brand consistency, and you use that graphic design skills in advertising to be able to engage your audience. Now, what does effective graphic design does? Effective design creates recognition and conveys a message. Recognition in that audience can be able to what? See your brand resource or your business in anywhere or online and be able to connect with it and be able to understand and know that I identify it as well. And also it conveys message in the sense that you are able to pass a message to your audience using graphic design. How can that be achieved? Take for instance, you are trying to make sales. That is passing a message across to your audience that a particular commodity or goods is available for sales. So your audience will be able to identify your business on the digital space or on the physical space when you make use of graphic. And also you are able to communicate and pass messages to your audience effectively with graphic design. Let's go to the next slide. Now, what are the key or important elements of graphic design? Graphic design is stacked on several elements, but the most relevant elements are lines, which guides the eye, that is connect points together, shapes, which is formed from lines and include geometric and organic shapes. That is, geometric shapes are shapes like our square, our rectangle, our triangle, and so on and so forth. Organic shapes are more of shapes that has to do with the items or things that we know in the physicals, like the shape of a ball, the shape of an orange, the shape of a leaf. Those are shapes that comes to mind when we talk about organic shapes. Now, after we have shapes, in a time where shapes are being, because shapes are two-dimensional in nature, that is, they are plain surfaces. But when shapes take a three-dimensional format, it is called forms. All right. So a form is a three-dimensional shape. So when shape has length, breadth, and height, that is a form. Another key element of graphic design is color. What does color do basically? Color sets the mood to your design, because with color, the mood of your design comes out. It displays how your design feels, or it feels emotionally to your audience. Okay. Now, texture is all about adding depth, adding a touch feeling to your design. Space, what space does as an element of graphic design is it helps to prevent clutter. So we have white space, we have negative space. For example, if you look at the design, the textual feature of this very slide, you will notice that in every line there is space. Why is the space applied? It is applied so that it will reduce what? Clutter of text and improve readability. Okay. So also we have what we call, as an element, we have typography, which defines the style of your text. We have several types of typography, and which we will be looking at in further sessions of this video. Now let's talk about the principles of designs, or the principles of design for effective layout. The very number one principle of design is balance. What does balance do in your design? Balance distributes elements evenly for stability. Now, when there is an even distribution of elements, that is, you have your shapes, let's take for instance, you have your shapes, your squares, and they are evenly distributed, then there is a balance. And the essence of even balance is for what? Stability. When you have balance in your design is stable. So to bring about visual stability, you need balance in your design. We are going to be looking at balance in details when we go hands-on in our class. Let's talk about alignment. Alignment, like we all know in other versions of graphic design or other versions or applications, has to do with what? Organization, has to do with arrangement. So alignment organizes content in clean, structured way or manner. In situations whereby your contents are clean, structured, and organized, that is alignment. And in graphic design, alignment is very, very important. How? Because when your items or elements are organized and structured, it gives the viewer or the audience, it captures their attention. Okay. Now, next to it is what we call contrast as a graphic design principle. In your graphic design, it is expected that you apply contrast because contrast highlights key elements to create emphasis. So, in essence, contrast is all about creating a visual communication between small or big, dark or light, great or little. That is what contrast means in the layman language. And the same principle can be applied in your graphic design. Now, next thing we need to understand in graphic design fundamentals is the understanding of color theory in design. Colors, like we say from the initial say, is what sets the mood in our design. So what kind of colors do we use in design? Basically, we have three different types of colors. We have the primary colors, the secondary colors, and the tertiary colors. When we're talking about primary color, it refers to colors like the red, blue, and yellow, which form the basis of other colors. Secondary colors are a combination of two primary colors that gives us a secondary, and it consists of colors like green, orange, purple, created by mixing primary colors, like I earlier said. Now, color schemes has to do with different pattern or order of colors. We have what we call the monochromatic color, which is a single color with different tint or shade. That is monochromatic color. Complementary colors are colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. All right, that is complementary colors. Analogous colors are colors that basically are side by side on the color wheel. The essence of color schemes here is that you need to understand that monochromatic color, complementary color, and analogous colors guide design harmony. So in essence, to be able to achieve a good mood for your design, that is need for harmony, and colors are an effective way to achieve harmony in your design when used properly and effectively. Typography, essentials for readability. Typography encapsulates what we call the different kind of font typeface or the fonts in our design. Basically, we have three types of fonts or font typeface in our design. We have the serif fonts, the sans serif fonts, the script fonts, which are the three. Basically, in designs, the fonts helps to communicate and bring understanding, but most especially or most importantly, the font typeface or the font types helps to communicate with clarity. The essence of every design is to ensure that the fonts are readable and legible enough. So in corporates and business designs, most designs go with either a sans serif or a serif font. Script fonts are mostly used, or decorative script or decorative fonts, as always been called, are mostly used for designs that are either that displays mood or some a sense of playfulness in design. Now, font typeface use sans serif, serif, or script font wisely for clarity. So this is a very, very important point, that in using fonts, it is wise to use them carefully, and so that you can be able to effectively pass the right information to your audience. Now, here is a readability tips. In your design, you need to limit your font choice and ensure proper spacing for readability. Again, I say you need to limit your font choice for readability. You need to include proper spacing for readability. You don't want your work to be cluttered, so you have to improve or employ what readability. So use the proper font type. In summary, the summary and importance of graphic design skills. 1. Graphic design enhances communication and branding effectiveness. It enhances communication and branding effectiveness. That is, with graphic designs, you are able to communicate better and you are able to connect as a brand or a business with your audience better. Mastering basic principles builds a strong foundation for creativity. Understanding the basic principle of graphic design, which we have just discussed, will help you build a very strong foundation and helps improve your creativity as you progress in your learning journey. Lastly, regular practice leads to professional and published results. If you want to be a professional in graphic design, if you want to be proficient, and you want to earn from the field of graphic design, there is need for consistent practice, because from there, mastery is achieved. Thank you very much for watching this video from the very beginning to the very end. And I hope this very video adds value to you, and I hope you've really learned something. See you in the next video. Kindly take this opportunity to like our YouTube channel and share this very wonderful resource and learning material with people, friends, and family. Thank you and take care. Lastly, don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Bye.